Okay, so hello everyone. In this lightning talk, I'm not gonna tell you how to be a salmon literally, of course, but I want you to explain one thing that I've been doing, at previous positions and also at my current job at New Relic. And it's something that I think is a frame of mind that I think will help you build better documentation. So let's go. There you go. These are words. We create them, we edit them, we are writers. We deal in words. And in some cases, our role is somewhat even more exotic. Like my current job title, for instance, is product language writer, which is kind of broad. There's other companies that have even more exotic names, like Wordsmith. That's how they call technical writers at Palantir, if I'm not mistaken. So in some cases, tech writers are the only people, the ninjas, who bring words into tech companies. They learn defenders of good writing in products, and that's a fact. And now let's switch to something a little different. These fishes you're seeing here are all filter feeders. They like the whale shark. They gently journey through the oceans with an open mouth, capturing microscopic shrimp plankton. They're pretty peaceful, despite the big mouth, and they just do that. They float with the open mouth, and they capture all the plankton. Now, tech writers are much like filter feeders in that, in that we seem to wait for things to come at us, and we really don't seem to have a choice sometimes. Like in most cases, words from the products come, very late downstream to us. We wait for the products to change, and we collect that information rather passively. And then, of course, we have to document all that. So we try to make the most of what the product has and how it behaves. But that's often like putting the proverbial lipstick onto a pig. So, for example, if UI text is mediocre, the documentation, trying to pull sense out of it, will sound, at the very least, insincere and disconnected from the reality of the product. And I think you all been there, and you all know example of bad UI messaging that doesn't do anybody a favor. And then you have to work around that. The same happens with API documentation. So it's not just human interfaces, but also machine interfaces. And API methods or endpoints, which don't come naturally or are inconsistently named, can make it very difficult to developers to use and, to us to document. Oh, there you go. Technical writers we are often in a unique position to be the user advocates. We usually are the earliest users, those who land on the shore first and take the brunt of bad product design. So then you have a couple choices. You can choose to work around the bad words that come downstream, follow the flow, and be done with it. Or you can choose not to have to put up with that. And in my case, I didn't. So what I did was to be a salmon. Excuse the analogy here, but sort of came to mind in like 1 hour, and I found it like pretty fitting. So at the Salmon, it's basically the spirit here is to go upstream and change the words that will end up eventually in your documentation before they get there to you. You can do this for a very simple reason. Words are unwieldy. Their words are difficult and dangerous. And almost nobody wants to be responsible for creating them in companies, to my experience. And so you can do that. You can take ownership of the words. Going upstream may feel tough and rewarding, but it can also be tons of fun. And so that's, accepting that there's something wrong in the words that the product uses but the start. What you have to do next is to be the salmon. And in translators to something more relatable, you can, or rather you should be a designer. And that means an API designer or a UX designer. And this probably is a very bold and a very difficult statement, depending on the context that you're living in. But I think we should acknowledge then, when everyone owns words, nobody really does. And so someone has to step up and own them. You might be the only writer at your company. You may not, but in any case, it's also your responsibility as a writer. Forget that you're a technical writer for a moment, but you are a writer, and it's your responsibility to own the words. So a couple tips here, and it's things that I've actually done, and so feel free to reach out to me later for tips or anything, but get in touch with UX designers at your company if you have any, and pitch them about the benefit of having good UX writing. If there's UX writers already in your company, support them. If not, think about becoming the first UX writer. And also, when it comes to API design guidelines, advocate for solid guidelines that include consistent naming conventions for endpoints or methods. And if no API design guideline exists, think about creating a very first rough drafts with a focus on writing. I don't know how we are going with time, but that's it. My message is to be the Salmon, and thanks you, everyone.